The former Speaker of the House of Assembly in Benue State, Hyacinth Dajoh, yesterday broke his silence following a sudden resignation that stirred up a storm of impeachment rumors. He says he's moved on. But the timing and the circumstances of his exit have raised more questions than answers. We'll be joined shortly by the spokesman of the Benue State House of Assembly to unpack maybe the real story behind the resignation.
Honourable Hyacinth Dajoh served as Speaker of the 10th Benue Assembly from June 2023 and since the resignation on August 24, 2025. His departure came amid swirling allegations of an impeachment plot, though no formal charges were made public. In a statement posted on Facebook, Dajoh thanked Governor Hyacinth Audu, his colleagues and his constituents. He emphasized peace and reconciliation, saying, "Let there be peace and let's move on. The journey is still ahead." But the real question is, was this a graceful exit or political push-out? Join us this morning to discuss this issue as a member representing Benue East constituency, who's also the spokesman of the Benue State House of Assembly, Honourable Elias Audu. Honourable Audu, a warm welcome to you and thanks for joining us for Breakfast Central this morning.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Now, Honourable Audu, was the immediate past Speaker, Honourable Dajoh's resignation, truly voluntary, or was he pressured by internal or perhaps external forces within the Assembly or outside the Assembly to step aside? Because this is coming out of the blue.
Thank you very much. If you look at if you're able to read the letter, the resignation letter, you will be made to understand that the resignation was voluntary. He stated that he did it in good faith for peace, progress, and development of our dear state. You know, there are many reasons that people resign their appointment. Some of the resignation is based on principle. Some is based on personal conviction. That you, as a Speaker of the Benue State House of Assembly, did his best to promote the role of the legislature in good governance. He was able to uphold the principle of separation of powers during his time as the Speaker. And if you ask me, he is one among the best speakers Benue State has produced. But after some time, because of certain reasons, maybe because of his personal conviction, he now says it is time to quit. And we believe him. Somebody or people say it is that person that wear the shoe, who wear the shoes, that know what exactly it pinches. So Honourable Dajoh standard a voluntary resignation. And you people should also be aware that the best dancer also leaves the stage. After some time, he will leave the stage for another person to take over.
So
Thank you.
You say that he was so far one of the best speakers that the state has provided, and then you say that he honored and upheld the rule of law and separation of powers, and now you're saying that all of a sudden, you know, for personal reasons. So are you saying that there was really no smoke? There was no smoke without this fire that we've seen? Because it's a bit, it's not usually the norm that people out of the blues announce their resignation 48 hours after suspending 4 lawmakers.
Thank you very much. You see, exactly when in politics or even in our personal homes, there are pockets of problems. There are crises everywhere. In your house, with your wife and your children, there might be some level of disagreement. But when it is not grown to a certain level, you cannot say there was very serious disagreement. As far as I know, naturally, we have disagreement within the individual because no two persons are the same. If you go to the house, you will see the relative peace being enjoyed. On the day he enjoyed, you were talking about the suspended members, one being the Speaker. On the day they were suspended, if you look at what the proceedings, they did that, they accepted the suspension, they bowed before the Speaker and the authority of the House and left. If you look at it very well, there was nothing like a rowdy session There was no fighting, there was no shouting, there was no quarreling, and they left. And after some time, their actions were reviewed, and the House felt that for the state and for the Benue State House of Assembly to move together, the best thing that will happen is record them so that they will join forces.
Honourable,
This is not.
Honourable, if I may interject, I mean, you did talk about how the day that this suspension had occurred, everything was done peacefully, that there was no revolting from the people, the leaders and the members of the House who were suspended. And, you know, one would find it quite interesting that the new speaker would be Alfred Mbaga, who was one of the suspended lawmakers. So the question is, what was the reason for their suspension? Majority Leader says it's conspiracy to cause chaos. Can you explain what that meant and what were the reasons why these 4 lawmakers were suspended?
These people had a meeting, and the rules of the House is that it is only the Speaker that have the right to approve a meeting of the lawmakers. Now, the people had a meeting, the Speaker was not aware. The leadership also claimed ignorance. And at the end of the meeting, immediately they could not come to brief the leadership of the meeting. Now, when there is silence, there is bound to be assumption, there is bound to be speculation, there is bound to be any form of assumption at all. So the House maybe look at it as conspiracy. What was the kind of meeting they had? But in the same way, members individually and collectively have the right to freedom of association. They have the right to sit together. And after some time, we look at it and we're made to understand that the meeting they have and the court was harmless. It was just a normal meeting. It was some members, about 10, and the suspended members were among them. As a result of that, that was why the House lifted their suspension. Let me say something. The Benue State House of Assembly is one among the vibrant houses of assembly. If what happened was completely against the wishes of the people, the members would have resisted. If you follow proceedings and you look at the vibrant nature of discussions by members who I can say authoritatively that they are independent-minded, you will be made to understand that they supported the past speaker when he said it's time to quit. Members accepted his resignation, and the position of the speaker cannot be vacant. And that was the reason why a new speaker was unanimously elected. If you look at the nature of the election, it was devoid of crisis. One person, Honourable Douglas Akia of Makurdi South, nominated him. His nomination was seconded. At the end of the day, no other nomination was made, and he was returned unopposed. Members were not coerced. Members were not forced. Members were not intimidated to do what they did, but they did that for the sake of peace, progress, and development of Benue State.
So my question is, I mean, just to follow up to what you said, I did mention to you about how these 4 lawmakers, one of them being Alfred Mbaga, who was suspended by the former speaker, has now been returned as the current speaker of the House. Is it that the House did not, there was nobody else that could have been appointed speaker? And, you know, he was the best person. If he's such a person of impeccable character, why was the House in support of his suspension in the first instance?
Thank you very much. There are coincidences. If you observe legislative proceedings, suspension doesn't mean condemnation. At a certain point, myself was suspended from the House. I hope you remember that incident. That does not mean I am a condemned person. When the suspension to our rules is just a temporary disciplinary measure to look at the real issue. And at the end of the day, if the House deemed it fit that there was nothing, you are called back. So to the legislature, another word for suspension is that they are saying step aside, stay away from the legislative proceeding so that we look at what is happening. And when they look at it, at the end of the day, they discover there's nothing. To me, I feel that was just a coincidence. They were suspended because the information that we received from the House was not substantiated. And later we were able to look at the facts of the case. We look at the meetings and we The eyewitness account from those people who attended their meeting testified that the meeting was really harmless.
So you're admitting, Honourable, if I hear you correctly, you're admitting that the grounds on which they were suspended in the first place, you know, were found later to not be the correct position. Is that correct?
They were found, yes.
So that means that you're also admitting that the House did not do its due diligence before throwing 4 lawmakers under the bus.
No, let me tell you. It's not about that. If you have your child and you come back and you say, for instance, even little children, you come back to the house, you see something that is not okay. You can say, okay, step aside, let me carry out my finding. That was just what happened. For some other time, you cannot just say, let us carry out a full investigation. What we want to do was that the people should not be involved so that truly if there is anything, they will interfere. So their suspension was not because they were horribly condemned, but the House just asked them to step aside and they were able to deal. We called the members behind the scene and we were able to question them. What was the content of the meeting? And they told us the meeting. And in the houses, there are legitimate groups. We have the leadership, they have their meeting. There is a meeting of what we call G18, people who are not in leadership. There is APC caucus, there is PDP caucus, and we have a member of another political party too. Now, when people have a meeting in politics, you don't underrate anything. So when people have a meeting without telling the leadership have the right to question. And that was why, if you look at the motion suspending them, the motion came from the leadership. They said, these people, it was not from the general member, these people hold a meeting without telling us. And if you look at our rules, it is only the speaker that summons the meetings of the assembly. Now that he is the speaker, if, for instance, even as the spokesman of the House, I will give out notice of sitting. Like today we are sitting. I have already sent out messages to people that were sitting today. And the speaker is aware. If any member called the speaker that I will sitting today by 10 a.m., the speaker will say yes. But if I just send a message that we are meeting in my house by 10 a.m., the speaker is not around, and at the end of the day, the speaker discovered that I conveyed the meeting, he will have every right to be worried. The reason is that he did not approve, neither his consent was not sought, and I did not brief him before invitation of that meeting.
Thank you, Honourable Audu. I would like to know the relationship of the immediate past Speaker and the Benue State House of Assembly with the Executive Governor Hyacinth Dajoh, and also if he played any role in this speakership transition. Was there any executive influence, perhaps, in the legislative process that led to the resignation and the election of a new speaker in the Benue State House of Assembly?
No. I don't see any executive influence on this issue. When I was speaking before, I told you that Benue State House of Assembly is made up of independent-minded people. The speaker, the immediate past speaker, had worked closely with the governor. In all the sense, some of that time people even say that he is doing executive function because even things that he engaged in other things, when there are conflict between communities, he intervenes and things like that. So the relationship between the two of them was cordial. And that was why from the one I told you that we suspected that the resignation might have been based on principle. The resignation must have been on personal conviction that even though he did well as the Speaker of the House of Assembly, it is time to quit. It is time to leave the stage to allow another person to come in. I didn't perceive any executive influence. I was called there without being pressured to call. When we received the resignation letter, we said, let us quickly go and fill the vacancy of the Speaker because there is no need for vacuum in leadership in a very sensitive office like the office of the Speaker of the Benue State House of Assembly.
Okay, so just to clarify, are you saying that there was no issue whatsoever between the former speaker and the executive governor of Benue State, Reverend Father Hyacinth Dajoh?
If there was any issue at all between the speaker and the executive governor of Benue State, that crisis existed behind the scene. It was not full-blown. It was not in the knowledge of the House. The speaker have not come to us to complain to us that this is what the governor has done. This is what the governor has insisted. Neither did the governor call us to tell us the sins of the speaker. But all of a sudden, the speaker resigned. And that is why I am emphasizing that maybe it might be based on his personal principle.
Also,
if there were certain crises...
Right. All right. Sorry to interrupt there. I just also wanted to ask if you can speak to the allegations of impeachment plots in the House for the former speaker.
Thank you very much. I think we have addressed that. When you are talking, what was looked upon as an impeachment plot was that meeting they held without the knowledge of the speaker. I think I've spoken elaborately on that.
Well, you spoke about the meeting, but it was not clearly referred to as possibility of an impeachment plot. I don't think that, you referred to that, but you spoke about meetings that were held.
My sister, that was why those members were suspended. The House federal, now, for them calling a meeting, attending a meeting without the knowledge of the speaker, one, it amounts to insubordination. One among the persons suspended who was now the present speaker, Right Honourable Beja Alfred Mbega, who was among them, was a member of the leadership. And he was always found closely with the speaker, attending functions and even representing the speaker. Now, when that meeting was called, without the knowledge of the leadership, people can assume, why is it that you call a meeting without our knowledge? And that was why they summoned in the House, they brought it that the best thing to do is suspend these people, let us dig deep and know what is the agenda. And at the end of the day, we were made to understand that it was far from impeachment of the speaker. The meeting was not for impeachment. The people gathered for their personal development. If you look at the House, some members engage in certain things that are private. Some engage in donation. At every month, they say, let us put this particular amount together. This month, this particular person will take it. The next month, another person will take it. People call it locally. They call it adashi. People do that kind of a thing. They have arrangement of 4, we have arrangement of 8, we have arrangement of 10. So we later discovered that what was misconceived as an impeachment plot was a harmless meeting held by these people. And that was the reason why when we discovered it was a harmless meeting, we called them back.
Okay. Now, Honourable Audu, has there been any other leadership change in the Benue State House of Assembly in terms of principal officers, or the only change of personnel we've seen is the Speaker?
For now, there is no change of leadership.
When you say for now, are we expecting to see a reshuffling of principal officers in the nearest future?
Definitely, I think we should be expecting a change because we look at what we call rotation, we look at what we call zoning. The former speaker was in Zombi. He was in the same senatorial district by another axis that we call Jemba. Now, the present speaker is in Minda, where the deputy chief whip was already there. And based on zoning and based on rotation and based on fairness, I am convicted that maybe there will be a slight change in the leadership position that I'm talking about, the principal officers for fairness, equity, and justice. But all this rests with the authority of the speaker and the leadership of the party. What I'm saying here is on the leadership change is my own personal opinion. But I'm trusting God that for fairness, they will have to effect at least a little of the change for the sake of fairness and to carry everybody along.
All right, just to, follow up from what you said, you talked about where the former speaker was from, which is Jemba. There were speculations that the replacement ought to have come from Jemba as well, but there are some sources who allege that that was kicked against by allies of the governor, stating that the new speaker should then be picked from Minda, which is where the new speaker comes from, and that going to pick someone from Jemba would have been political suicide. So again, this sort of, just to ask, is there any truth to this statement by the sources within the House?
Normally in Benue State, if the governor of Benue is in Zone A, the speaker will come from Zone B, senatorial district. If the governor is from Zone A, it's Zone B, the speaker will definitely come from Zone A. Where if you look at what this thing happened, let me take an example on the immediate past. The immediate past governor, Otom, when he was the governor of Benue State, the speaker, Titus Uba, was from Vandekia, which is Zone A. So when there is a speaker in this zone, there is a governor from another zone. What am I trying to say? All these people are from the same senatorial zone, and that has been the culture. The division of Jemba, Minda, Lubi, Jechira, and all these subdivisions, they count when we're talking about political arrangement. But in case of the speaker, the zoning is to guide the members. However, outside the zoning, members usually have the right to pick anybody to do it. When I was talking about effecting a leadership change, I told you that for fairness, with equity and justice. If not, you can even pick a speaker from anywhere. But we don't do that because we want to carry all the sections of the state along so that they will have a sense of belonging. Okay. So by and large, the present speaker too is from Zone B as the other speaker.
All right, Honourable Audu, thank you very much for joining us. In maybe a few seconds, can you share with us what you think should be the most pressing matters that the House should look at now that we have a new speaker?
Thank you very much. The Benue for now is facing enormous security threats. You people are aware, and that is a general concern of everywhere mini son of Benue. And with the coming of the newspaper, just like the immediate past one, our intention is to forge ahead, join hands with the executive governor of Benue State, give the executive the needed support so that we'll be able to fight insecurity in Benue. We will be able to move on. We'll be able to pass quality legislation for the benefit of the people and move very important motions for the development of our people. What we want now is Benue. There is Benue State Officer Assembly because Benue exists. There will be Benue State Government because Benue exists. If there is no Benue, then there will be no Benue State. If there is no Benue, the legislature will not be there.
And you really hit the nail on the head.
So all we want is peace and development of Benue State.
Well, you've hit the nail on the head, really. The Benue State House of Assembly has its work cut out for it, as the citizens are demanding security, which is their right. Thank you very much, Honourable Elias Audu, for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.